Amelia Earhart once said the most effective way to do it is to do it. And right now, I couldn't agree with her more.
What you just saw was my second attempt at putting together this week's chapter. Now, when I set about documenting my travels, I wanted to create something a little different from the typical vlogging format. Now, this came about with its own set of challenges on top of what a new vlogger would typically face. That's why in this chapter, I wanted to discuss the do's and don'ts of travel vlogging from the perspective of someone who has barely even scratched the surface. Oh, and the first don't? Putting a cheesy inspirational quote at the start of your video. My journey started with a 7-hour flight from Brisbane to Singapore, where upon disembarking, I had my first attempt at talking to the camera. So I'm just catching the SkyTrain now across to Terminal C, which is the terminal that I will be boarding my flight to Cape Town. Now I've got a 13-hour layover ahead of me. After becoming saddened at the fact my layover was in fact actually 18 hours, I was cheered up by the discovery of a free tour bus, which would take me into the city. It's here that I learnt the first do of travel vlogging. Make friends with someone who asks why you're pointing a camera at yourself. Together we took in the sights of Singapore's stunning architecture, my personal favourite being the Marina Bay Sands. Upon returning to the airport, we discovered a butterfly sanctuary and a cactus garden, but eventually it was time to say goodbye and press on to Cape Town. Oh, and you might be wondering why I included footage of myself holding an iPhone case depicting Bill Murray. Well, this will only make sense in a few months, so I've given you really no choice but to keep watching until then. Another big do of vlogging in general. Within hours of arriving in Cape Town, I had already had coffee with a seal and hiked up the side of Table Mountain, all in the company of my older sister, Megan. Megan loves being on camera. Over the next few days, we spent a lot of time in the car, ticking off almost everything that would be on a tourist bucket list for Cape Town. We started at Camps Bay, where I learnt another don't of travel vlogging from this friendly chap. Let me fill you in on what happened over lunch at one of Cape Town's numerous wine estates. Meg and I just spent the morning heading along the coastline, having a look at all the different beaches that were around there. We also had our first experience with a kind of dodgy fellow as we made our way down onto one of the beaches. And on our way back up, we went up a different way to try and avoid him. And then we were sort of walking back along towards the car, and he sort of came up to us and was sort of going on about my iPhone, what I'm filming on right now. And Megan can hear me. He was very insistent that he take a picture with my phone, and as Megan said, if I had given him my phone, I probably would have lost it.
Yeah.
He shouted at us quite a lot.
Which is actually quite common.
Quite common.
And another thing that people will shout at you is your master puss.
Master puss.
No.
Oh.
It's very loud. It's very rude.
What is
they will shout, your master puss.
And what does that mean?
It's your mother's.
After learning a bit of the local lingo from Megan, we went off to explore Kirstenbosch, Cape Town's botanical gardens. It's here that I informed my sister of one of Australia's most dangerous creatures. So, Meg, a drop bear, getting like a wombat size, and they live up in the trees.
Yes.
And so what will happen is they'll drop down and they'll sort of like
Claw you.
claw you, yeah.
More things in Australia that want to kill
But
you.
want to kill you. Now for the horrible truth, Megan. Drop bears are actually a thing that we tell the tourists to scare them away. We also learnt a bit of geology.
When it was young, it would have been as mighty as the Rocky Mountains.
Table Mountain is a dip.
Yes.
It's a low point. Next up, we went south, where I learnt another do of travel vlogging. Always try to include a dramatic introduction to your location. Welcome to Capes Point. If you enjoy a spot of trivia, then you might be interested to know that Capes Point isn't actually the most southern tip of Africa. That honour belongs to Cape Agulhas, though the divide between the Indian and Atlantic Oceans can be found somewhere between the two. When I dropped out of university 2 months ago, I didn't think I'd be back on a university campus. But today I find myself on the Stellenbosch campus. My sister is a lecturer here, so I thought we would have a bit of a look around. I have no idea where I'm going, so I'm probably going to get a bit lost, but that's part of the fun.
It was at this point I learnt another big don't of travel vlogging: starting the day without a fully charged battery. The following days were a lot quieter, which allowed me to adjust from tourist to semi-permanent resident. I'd say this is probably a good time to show you where I have been living.
This is my temporary home in Cape Town, also known as my sister's apartment. Let me give you a quick tour. Right now we are standing in the living room, which is currently doubling as a bedroom. If we follow along the corridor, then you will find the bathroom, followed by the kitchen, and finally my sister's bedroom, which I shan't be showing.
As the week drew to a close, it was finally time to conquer what had been looming over me for the duration of my stay.
So I'm with Andrew here, and we are going to be climbing Table Mountain today. So I think Andrew said if we're really gunning it, we could get to the top in an hour 20, but we won't be gunning it today.
Over the course of our ascent, I picked up another do of travel vlogging: get a local to tell you about the local flora.
So there are three main groups. There's proteas. They have got big flowers, large leaves, look like that.
Yeah.
And the second group is the ericas, erica type things. So they normally have these bell-shaped flowers, very small leaves. These are pollinated by birds. Birds stick their beaks and tongues in there.
Oh, right,
Like
yeah.
that. So they fly around. We get little sunbirds, things like that. And then restios, which are grasses. So it's not this type, it's the ones with the long
strands, yeah.
Those are restios. Cape Dutch thatch roofs are made with a similar restio grass, so like thatch roofing.
And fauna.
So Tok-Toki beetle, it wanders around.
Yeah. What does it do?
It just lives its life. The name Tok-Toki comes from the sound that it makes when it hits its abdomen on the ground and goes tok-tok, tok-tok.
Yeah.
And if we put it down, we'll probably not make it do it because it's probably a little bit stressed.
Yeah.
But it's, you know what I'm saying? That's the sound they make.
We finally made it to the top, where we enjoyed a traditional meal of apples and bananas.
So we're about to head to Maclear's Beacon, which is the highest point on the mountain. And I think it stands at about 1,082 meters. So let's get going. So after all this hiking, we have finally made it to the highest point on Table Mountain, and is very excited about that fact. So instead of hiking back down, we're going to go and catch the cable cart off in the distance there. So we should get a nice 360 view, I'm told, from the cart.
Tired and sunburnt after the hike, I returned back to my sister's flat to review the footage I had captured from the week. It is here that I learnt my final don't about travel vlogging: staring longingly at very expensive camera equipment. Instead, try a little DIY. Now, when I was reviewing the footage from Singapore, I noticed that there was some shaking going on. What I put this down to was the phone not being properly secured inside the mount that I purchased. And to counteract this, what I have done is put some pieces of paper and cardboard underneath the mount and used a rubber band at the front to stabilize it even further. The hair tie that you see on here is credit to my sister Olivia back in Australia, and that's mainly just for my peace of mind, to stop it from falling out. The rest of the setup that I have going on is a Joby GorillaPod
And I've also attached a moment wide lens. Unfortunately, I noticed that there was still some wobbling going on even after I made these adjustments. What I'm putting that down to is the iPhone's autofocus interacting with the wide lens here. So going forward, I'm going to try and use a manual focus just to prevent this from happening. I honestly cannot believe it has already been over a week since I arrived in Cape Town, though this really does only mark the beginning. Today I am heading to Muizenberg, a suburb of Cape Town, where I will be spending the week at a beachside hostel as I continue to document my life in chapters.